Hello and welcome to another episode of It Came From the Page. And today, continuing on our top 10s and top 15s and top 20s, top 30s, every other tops in the business, we're doing my top 15 books that were published in 2023. So these are 15 books from last year that I absolutely loved, and they were all published last year. So these are all brand new books. Now, I had a lot of great books that came out in 2023. So I actually had to whittle this down a little bit to even make a top 15. I think it was a really great year for publishing, whether that be like people who are independently publishing or even some surprises from bigger publishers. So let's just get into it. Number 15, this is Alien's Bishop by T.R. Napper. Now, this is a book that has no business being as good as it is. Because, to me, it has kind of a boring premise. Because it is a book that takes place after Alien 3, where Bishop from Aliens and Alien 3 is brought back to being a fully formed, synthetic person, and it's about his adventures after he's brought back. But this book has a lot more to it than just that. There's a lot of wide swath of perspectives and people who are following, and all of these characters are really, really interesting because it's all these people who are trying to find Bishop, and they all, at the end of the book, kind of converge in one spot where all of these disparate threads kind of get woven together. And this book has some really, really great writing in it, really great characters, really unique perspectives, a lot of really kind of groundbreaking stuff about AI and how they think and how they act and how it's different than people. And it's really quite awesome. I had a great time with this book, and I've never read anything else by this author, T.R. Napper, but I'm going to read a whole bunch more from him after this because this book was just a great experience. It was a great whole and is one of the better Alien books to come out in the last 10 to 15 years. Really, really quite good stuff. Number 14 is Candy Cane Kills by Brian McCauley. This does something that is very hard to do in the written word, which is to write a damn good slasher story, but have a little bit of heart to it as well. See, a lot of times when people do a slasher novel, it's like one or the other. It's either only mindless kills and it's just gory and they're trying to up the ante and up the ante and up the ante, or it's way more focused on characters, which is normally those books end up being the better books, but they're probably less slashery than a conventional slasher would be. So it is a very hard format to utilize in the written word, and I think Brian McCauley does an excellent job at this. This really felt to me like it had the goriness of an early 2000s slasher. Think like the remake of Black Christmas or something of that nature, but it has something that those don't, which is heart and character and interesting stories. And, those mean-spirited early 2000s slashers are fun to watch, but mostly because they're just cray gore and disturbing in that regard. But all of the characters are normally just kind of flat in one note and not that interesting. Whereas Brian McCauley manages to capture that vibe, but does it in a way that makes you kind of care about these characters and tells a really messed up and interesting story. And I hear there's going to be a sequel, which is how you know it's a good slasher novel. Number 13. This one, people might be like, Andrew, you're cheating, and I hate you for cheating. And I'm like, that's fair. I hate me for cheating as well. This is Godzilla, and Godzilla Raids Again, which was just released. This is a novella collection. Both of these novellas were originally released contemporarily to the films themselves, so in the 50s, so the actual text is very old, but it was translated for the very first time into English, which was translated by Jeffrey Angles, and it was finally released so that everyone could read it in 2023. So I'm going to consider it a 2023 release, if for no other reason than the act of translation does change material. It is kind of rewriting things because languages are different, and how we express things in different cultures are very different. So having to adapt something written for a Japanese audience into the English language is something that is going to change the material a little bit. Of these two, I think that actually Godzilla Raids Again adapts better to the novel format, and that's because that's actually a worse movie. Godzilla is a movie that is pretty much flawless in that it has all of the things that make film good and entertaining to watch. It's directed well, the effects are excellent, the acting is excellent, the music is excellent. It is the pinnacle of the collaborative nature of filmmaking. Therefore, when you kind of strip some of that stuff off and you put it into the written word, it doesn't work as well. Whereas Godzilla Raids Again, which has a lot of flaws to it but is an entertaining movie, is just a fun, super enjoyable read. And I enjoyed reading both of them. They're super quick, and they're well worth reading. If you read them, be sure to read the afterword, which goes into the translation process, and that is some of the more interesting thought experiments I've had this year, because there is a lot of stuff about how Japan talks about like things like gender and all of these topics where, you know, in the English language it is much more like he, she, they, them, where like a lot of times in Japanese media, and especially in the Godzilla media specifically, there is no gender associated with the character. And it was really interesting to think about how the choices that a person translating a material makes can really change its public perspective. And it makes me think of like all of this anime I grew up watching. Like, who was the person translating that? What decisions did they make that changed my experience with that property? And I just think that's really fascinating overall. So I really recommend this book. It's a fun read, but that afterword really will leave you thinking. I don't know why. Next is a book. Admittedly, I'm on the back cover because I love this book, and I've loved the author's prior works. But yes, a blurb for me is on the back cover of this book. Yay! And this is How to Have an Adventure in Transylvania by Raphael Coronelli. So this is somebody who I am friends with, but I became friends with mainly after I started reading their books and liked their books and talked to them. I guarantee I would have loved this even had we not had any prior friendship. But obviously, I'm talking about my top books, so I'm gonna preface the fact that yes, I am a person who knows Raphael, and these books are something that I love to consume year after year. These are nonfiction travel logs, and they are really, really great. I'm a person who can't really travel that much anymore due to my disability, so when I get to read a travel log that really gets you feeling like you are in the specific sections of the world, and really kind of put you in a time and place, and you feel like you're drinking the wines, you're eating the food, you feel like you're going through all of these museums with the person writing the travel log, and it's just a really wonderful experience. And I think Raphael captures all of the experiences of traveling super well. There are tips here. There are a lot of really entertaining stories about the various places he's traveled. And it's just really excellent and fun and adventurous. And it is everything a good travel log should be. So I absolutely adored this. And it made me learn about the fact that there is a salt mine in the Romanian area that has it's like an underground salt mine that has a giant amusement park in it. And the fact that there's a carnival under the ground, that's the coolest thing ever. And there's photos of it, and I did like a bunch of research after. It's like, oh, no, 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 blah, blah, blah. I love Dracula as well, so I love to figure out and experience a bunch of nonfiction about the character. So it is right off my alley. Number 11 is the other Alien book that came out this year. This is Alien Enemy of My Enemy by Mary San Giovanni. This was just a really entertaining and exciting Alien book. I was kind of gripped from start to finish. I really liked the characters. There were some surprises, like some things that happened in this, like, whoa, I can't believe you did that in an Alien book. And I just had an absolute blast with it. It does appear that I might be the minority in loving this book, especially if you go to the Goodreads reviews, but hey, it's me. This is my opinions. I loved the aliens, and I think this was just a wonderful alien story. If you're at all interested in this one, a lot of the Alien books, including this one, are free if you have an Audible subscription. So if you are an Audible member, this book is in the Audible Plus category. So you can check it out for free. And I really had a good time with it. I thought it was quite enjoyable. And there's a big old monster fight at the end. And you know me, I love me my big old monster fights. Number 10 is Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. Episode 13 has this amazing audiobook, and it's very hard to kind of separate the material from how well done that audiobook is. I think I would have liked it just as much had I just been reading, but I do think that the fact that the audiobook is produced and done so well is definitely going to have some kind of impact on my overall ranking. But this is a story that has a lot of heart and soul to it. It is about this ghost hunting team who have this show. They are basically trying to find evidence of the afterlife and try to get a big season finale for their television show so they get renewed. And all of the characters in this are super interesting. I love that ghosts also don't like cops. More power to ghosts. And then I think this has a really, really emotional ending. The ending to this book, like, I had a really strong emotional reaction to, and I was like kind of crying, and it was like very sweet but also sad, and it was kind of beautiful. And it really goes into these two very different characters and how they view life and love and the existence of an afterlife. And yes, no, I absolutely loved it. I had a great time with it, and there were some scenes that were spooky as hell. I also love, there's like a song that plays, and in the audiobook, they're like, the creepy people are here, and it's just great. I love it. Especially if you listen to it at a higher speeds, because it's just like, whoa, what's happening? I think it's the groovy people here, but whatevs. Number 9 is The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Carr. I am one of the only people who liked Nothing But Black and Teeth, like, ever. I swear, every other person I know does not like that book. But I had not read this until, I think it was November, and this was awesome. This is a little novella, but this is kind of a little bit more literary, and is not going to be in the same style as Nothing But Black and Teeth at all. So if you didn't like Nothing But Black and Teeth, but you're into dark fantasy and like grim dark storytelling, then you will definitely like this, because I think at its core it's like a dark fantasy book. There is this plague doctor and this mermaid who has been taken from the sea, and she was married to this like horrible husband who like mistreated her. So her and her children basically destroyed the entire what is it? I don't know if it was a country or a county or just a city. They fucked some stuff up. And these mermaids are, it's like the story opens at the end, and for whatever reason, this plague doctor and this mermaid are now traveling throughout the country. And you kind of get a lot of stuff about like who you are, what you are, being more than what people have put upon you. And there's just like a lot of really deep emotional beats here, combined with some genuinely creepy villains, and something like this. There's like a lot of surgery in this, so just beware if you ever been to a surgeon. You're like, oh, I don't want to be in the surgery. No, it's scary. It's scary. It is scary. But I had a great time with this. Again, another one that just has like a kind of a gut punch ending, but is also like very sweet. And it's a book that I love it for what it is, because this is a novella. I do genuinely think that you probably could have expanded this even more, and I would have still loved it. So I kind of hope that maybe Cassandra Claw revisits at least some of these characters, like in between one point and the end, like, because there is a bunch of time that some stuff could be told in, and I would hope so, because I really liked the characters. So had a great time with that one. Next up, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I was going to call him Grady Pupkin. Pupkin here. Everybody cheer. Pupkin here. This is another one with a great audiobook, because I can never, ever get the audio of Pupkin here. Everybody cheer. Everybody cheer. Pupkin. Pupkin. I love Pupkin. This is a book that is very much not marketed correctly. I mean, technically, yes, these are people who are trying to sell a haunted house, but really, what should be on the cover of this book to sell it should be a creepy puppet from the 50s being like, Pumpkin here, and like doing little dances, because like, that's the joy of this book, is that there is an evil puppet, and it's great. This is another entry by Grady Hendrix where he goes into a type of story that normally does not work for me that much, which is creepy dolls, creepy toys, that kind of stuff. Like, I like the Chucky series, but like, I don't like conventional creepy doll stories as much, where I think Grady Hendrix, again, he's got the strength as a writer that manages to kind of get you into all these characters' heads and make you really care about this scenario, and makes you get creeped out by things that, even if you're a person who doesn't like a particular trope, it still will work for you. A lot of family drama in this, so like, if you're somebody who has a lot of family drama, you'll be like, nom 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 nom, yes. I think that there is also a really good emotional through line to this one as well. You know me, I'm an emotional bitch. I love me strong emotional storytelling, so give this one a high recommend. Number 7 is Out There Screaming, which is a short story collection that is edited by Jordan Peele. This is another book where I know that I'm in the minority for loving. I genuinely think, which is very odd, because as a culture, we are going towards more and more truncated forms of storytelling in other mediums. So whether that be TikTok, Reels on Instagram, short films, television series, or television as a genre is more popular now than it's ever been. But that doesn't seem to translate for short stories in the written word. For whatever reason, I don't think people like short stories that much anymore. And it's kind of something that is a lost art. Not that it's, I guess it's a lost appreciation, because I don't think people like short stories that much anymore. So I think that maybe that's why a lot of people don't like this one, because these are like very great examples of short stories, and there are so many great stories in this collection, and it brings you to a lot of different cultures and perspectives, and it made me want to kind of look at the work of all these people who I really liked what they did in their short stories. So it brought a lot of new authors to my attention. I think a lot of the stories are really powerful and strong. They just are short stories, and I just think that most people prefer novels instead of short stories, which is fair. It's just that's kind of how it is nowadays. People don't read short fiction as much. Number 6 is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw, and it's great. It is wonderful. It is wonderful. There are chapters in this, especially like the early chapters. Like, I would say like the early first like 4 chapters of this book might be some of my favorite chapters I've read in any book ever. The idea of dealing with the aftermath of a traumatic event and how it changes you and how it changes the people around you and how it changes how you interact with people is just so well done here and is incredibly powerful. And when the slashing begins, Woma Boboba, there were some wild kills in this book and some wild set pieces for some like slashing extravaganza. So it's very fun. I like this. I actually think I like this a little bit better than My Heart is a Chainsaw because there are two, like, My Heart is a Chainsaw, sometimes when you're reading that book, at least for me, I wasn't sure if the horror references were coming from the character perspective or Stephen Graham Jones' perspective. Like, and he was just putting that on to the character and writing her like that. Here, we get different perspectives from two people who survived the last book and now have a more well-rounded, full appreciation of the horror genre. And they have different opinions than Jade. So Letha and Jade have different opinions on certain pieces of media, and it just makes it feel a little bit more realistic and more all-encompassing as a great character instead of being like a Randy from the Scream reference machine. It seems to actually embody both of the characters very well, and I think that little twist and some of the amazing action sequences just get this a little bit higher on my list. Also, there's a beautiful deer. Little beautiful deers. Next up, speaking about things that I am in the minority for, this is Mayfly by C.J. Lead. Look at all them eyeballs. They're looking at you. I love this. This is a wonderful book about the joy of being an unhinged lady and just murdering people. It's beautiful. It's great. The writing in this, really good. Some great set pieces. Really interesting character perspectives. I love the way that Mayfly looks at the world, and the writing styles that are in this book are kind of really powerful. And there's a lot of just really fun details in every page of this book. And this is a book I'm definitely going to be revisiting year after year because I just think, especially for Halloween, this is one of the ultimate Halloween books because it just gets that holiday so well, and it has some amazing set pieces. The ending to this book is amazing. There is a kind of a twist and you're like, wow, yeah, whoa, and I was just like, yeah. And then there's this beautiful Halloween room at one point. It's beautiful. I love Mayfly. She did nothing wrong except for all the people she killed. Anyways, next up, I feel like it's there's that thing of he's the best guy around, and then there's the person who's interviewing them, but what about the people he murdered? What matter? That's me from Mayfly. What matter? He's the best guy around. Next up is Raw Dog by Jamie Loftus. Now that that is quite a title for a book. This is a nonfiction book about hot dogs. I don't even like hot dogs. I'm a vegetarian. I eat veggie dogs sometimes, but I'm not a hot dog person. Even when I was eating them meaties, I was not a hot dogger. But this is kind of a book about... I don't think there's ever been a better book about the pandemic than Raw Dog, because it's all about Jamie Loftus and her boyfriend going on a road trip to find the ultimate hot dog and going to all these places and learning the history of hot dogs in America, what is the best type of dog, and where is the best place in America to get it. But this book is also about the pandemic, what it's done to us, and it's also a story about a relationship slowly falling apart as the book is written. And since it's all nonfiction, this is all wrapped up in one amazing, entertaining, hilarious, insightful book. And it just is great. It's great. If you're a person who likes hot dogs, you should read it. If you're a person who just likes, experiencing grief as it happens through a failing relationship, go to therapy, but also read the book after. There's just so many options for this. It's also hilarious. Jamie Loftus is one of the funniest comedians around, and it shows in this book because you're just like, ha ha ha, this is amazing. Ha ha, huzzah, it's great. Also, the book opens with like, hey, if you stole this book, good on you. And you're like, I'm going to buy this book just because I think it's rad that you wrote that. Number 3 is Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Now, when we get to the top 5, they could kind of go in any order. It's kind of like by how I'm feeling at a certain point in time. And today, it's number 3. Maybe it could have been number 1 some other day. Who knows? But regardless, it's a wonderful book. I've talked about this book before, but I think this is just a really touching book about queer love. And Chuck Tingle is somebody who really gets these romances really compelling to read. And then the horror happens, and it's awesome. Like, the horrific elements of this book are awesome. And there's demons. The ending of this book is like one of the most heavy metal, rad things I've like ever read. But like it also has emotional depth that makes you cry. Like, I don't know if I've ever had a book that I'm like, like headbutting it, like, yeah, you go demons, to then be like, oh, I'm crying, it's so beautiful, I hope they're happy together forever. And it's like, I've never had like a book that does that flip. Like it goes from heavy metal to tears, like, and you're like, what? No, how did you do this, Chuck Tingle? You're too good. If you don't know what Chuck Tingle is about, no, I've never met the man, I couldn't tell you. But the book is about, like, an evil conversion camp, which could be about any conversion camp, but let's just say, there'll be some demons involved. It's great. It's a wonderful book. It'll make you cry. It'll make you put on heavy metal and rock out. Number 2 is another book I'm in the minority for. Because this is how I am. I don't know. I love things that people don't love. It's just how I live my life. But this is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is the prequel to Blueberry. Hello, Blueberry. Are you here to represent the audience watching this video being like, I can't believe you like Bookshops and Bone Dust. I hated it. Well, okay. So the opposition is here, and he's being cute. So I respect your oppositions. Blueberry is here. But I thought that this is a beautiful book. This is a prequel to Legends and Lattes, which is another book that I read and I loved. Both of them were 5 stars from me. This is about Viv, who is this orc who's just started to get into the adventuring lifestyle, and she gets a serious injury while getting a little bit too overzealous fighting a necromancer. And as such, she has to be laid up in this small town to recover for a few weeks while the rest of the party she was joined up with go and fight the necromancer. And, the first book is all about her being retired from that lifestyle and opening up a coffee shop, where this book is much more about her helping out at an old used bookstore that is run by a swearing rat. It's amazing. It's so good. The rat swears. It's a rat person who swears. There's a dog, but it's not a dog. It's an owl dog, because the first part of its head is an owl. And you're like, whoa, oh, who's a dog? Who's a dog? Who's an owl? There's a person named Serpenta who's like got a cool, she's like a cobra lady, and you're like, whoa, cobra lady, cool. Anyways, beyond me just every 5 seconds being like, oh, that was cool. I think this book has great characters. There's awesome set pieces to it. There is some higher stakes to this, especially near the end of the book. Bookshops and Bone Dust does have an ending that has a little bit more to it in terms of like stakes and more of a dramatic ending. But for the most part, it's just, it's just an orc helping out a swearing rat lady get her bookstore to really thrive. And it's beautiful and lovely and all about friendship. And it is, I love it. I will read these until the day I die. I hope Travis Baldree just keeps putting these out because they are so enjoyable. They're such a breath of fresh air and an enjoyable book that I would recommend to all types of people. And I just think they're beautiful. So, sue me, the opposition. You gonna sue me? Are you gonna sue me, Winnie? But my number one, which is a book no one will sue me for because it's the best, and this is Fresh Hell by Cameron Chaney. Autumn Crow High, Fresh Hell by Cameron Chaney. I was so surprised by this book. I expected to like it, but I didn't expect to be as blown away by this book as I was. There is a lot to this book, a lot about love and friendship and connections to people that matter and making the hard decisions and making hard choices. And it was amazing. Like, it was really good. It was like a real emotionally moving book. And I think the reason why I'm putting it as number one right now is because it was the book that I connected most with the people around me. All of the people I'm the closest with, we all seem to have loved this book, and it's something that together we can experience and talk about and explore the ways that this book affected us and its meanings. And it really represented the best of BookTube in general. I think that 2023 for me was not a good year with BookTube. There's a lot of bad stuff that happened. And this is the book that kind of gave me hope and has me kind of deciding to continue this channel in the future because, it's written by a booktuber, Cameron Chaney, and it also helped me connect with all of these people who I love and admire so much. And it was a book that affected us all, and we could all kind of talk about how this book made us feel, and it was just a great stepping off point to get into this entire season. It saved the spooky season. It's the best. It's the best. So yes, those are my top 15s. What are yours? Do you have any things in here that you're like, I can't believe you like that? If you do, that's fine. You can say that, and I won't make fun of you. Bye.